10 News begins with breaking news.
That breaking news, firefighters battling a brush fire that exploded in Webster this evening. It started near 47th and Federal just about 30 minutes ago. Our photojournalist Paul Andreg is live at our 10 News breaking news tracker. So Paul, what is the situation now?
Well, you can see the fire crews are still here. They're mopping up that small fire that was behind Signtech, which is near 47th and Federal, right down the street from our station, actually. I'll show you some video of what it looked like about half an hour ago. When firefighters arrived, those flames were shooting up into the trees behind the fence of the business. Fortunately, it didn't get close to the business. There was a van that was in danger of getting engulfed, but fortunately, some people were able to get some hoses and keep that from catching on fire. Now, they don't know exactly what the cause is yet. They've got mast en route, but there is a homeless encampment back on the other side, back where those flames were. There was some shopping carts and some other items back there. And there are fires every once in a while back in that same area, started by homeless encampments. And we can come back out here live. You can see they're just about done mopping up here and making sure they don't leave any hot spots so this doesn't reignite after they leave.
All right, Paul, thank you. You mentioned it's right down the street from the station. The smell here in the studio is still pretty strong, even though those flames are out. All right, this fire comes as several brush fires erupted across San Diego County today. The record heat created dangerous conditions for our fire crews. We have team coverage tonight. Let's begin with our 10 News reporter Anthony Pura, who spoke with CAL FIRE about how the pandemic has changed this fire season.
The fires weren't very destructive, but they kept firefighters busy. CAL FIRE telling us it's an early test for their crews. From Oceanside, homeowners can see smoke billowing from the direction of Camp Pendleton. The base tweeting out late Tuesday they had a 7-acre brush fire and it is currently in mop-up. Near Hamul, CAL FIRE tweeted out this video. Fire crews called out to a half-acre fire along Inverness Way in Lawson Valley. Sky 10 also kept busy. A small brush fire sparked near the 8 freeway in El Cajon, near the Main Street off-ramp. Crews got it knocked down quickly. Sky 10 also flew along the border near Otay Mesa. A fire burned mostly on the Mexico side, but ripped through about 2 acres on the U.S. side. There was another fire in Claremont late in the day. Crews seen working at the bottom of a canyon west of the 805 and north of Claremont Mesa Boulevard. Crews put it out quickly, and an arson unit is investigating the cause. CAL FIRE Captain Isaac Sanchez says weather conditions have been a factor, but fortunately, they and other agencies have kept the fires under control.
The fuel moistures are still real high, and that's what's primarily keeping the fires small, along with an aggressive initial attack.
Sanchez wants to make sure families are ready heading into the fire season. Community outreach has been one of the areas impacted by the pandemic.
We've dramatically cut back our public outreach, our public education outreach. So where typically we would be in the communities delivering messages on preparation and prevention, we're not able to do that yet.
But when it comes to firefighting, the pandemic doesn't change much.
When it comes to fires, there's not much we can do. You know, we have to still respond in fire engines, which is close quarters. We still have to respond in large numbers.
Adding Tuesday's fires should be a good reminder we live in Southern California.
We're ready to go. We need the public to be ready with us. It is very much a cooperative effort. Don't take it lightly, because this week is very indicative of what we can expect later this year.
Anthony Pura, 10 News.
Starting very early, our meteorologist Angelica Campos joins us now with a look at the heat records we broke around the county. And Angelica, we understand you also had pictures of that fire up there at Pendleton too.
Yes, I did have photos. I posted them to Instagram. I don't have them on the show, but I will be sharing them on social media, which I already did this evening. As we look at the temperatures today, we tied the record of 93 degrees in San Diego. That record from 1877 in Oceanside, 94 degrees. 85 was the old record. And even at the harbor, temperatures made it to 87 degrees. In Chula Vista, 92 degrees today, 99 in Poway, and 100 degrees in El Cajon. As we look at the current conditions, finally, no 80s. It feels better outside. 62 degrees in Oceanside, 75 in Carlsbad, so still very warm. And we're expecting the hourly forecast to keep temperatures mild for most of the nighttime. And then tomorrow, the warm-up will start over again at 9 a.m. Coastal areas will see a slight change. We'll have more in your 7-day forecast.
All right. At least we have until 9 before the 80s come back. Angelica, thank you. The La Mesa City Council met for the first time tonight since those protests in the city turned violent. City leaders discussed how to move forward and improve during times of crisis. Our tennis reporter Laura Acevedo tells us dozens are calling for more training and asking for funds to be diverted from the police department.
Comment after comment, city representatives read statements from people of La Mesa calling for change.
It is time for you to take action with urgency, unity, and honesty. I am saddened by your focus on looting and rioting and not at the main problem, police brutality.
The first meeting since the protest and unrest in the city in response to the arrest of Amari Johnson by a La Mesa police officer and the death of George Floyd in Minneapolis. And then outrage after the shooting of Leslie Furcron, a protester shot with a beanbag the day of the protest. Tonight's meeting held virtually because of COVID-19.
Please establish an actual oversight committee for La Mesa PD. Stop placing the burden of accountability on La Mesa citizens.
Many speakers asking that funding for the La Mesa Police Department be redirected to other services. One example was mental health, calling for transparency and accountability from the department.
It has been over a week and we have not seen clear action on your part to rectify the disruption to our community. Black lives do matter.
The meeting coming on the same day the city released a timeline of events leading up to the chaos on Saturday, May 30th. In a 12-page timeline using mostly law enforcement incident logs and caller reports, it all starts roughly at 2 p.m. with a peaceful protest outside police headquarters. By 3:30, protesters were on the 8 freeway. Around 4, things got out of control with reports of objects thrown at officers. They responded with chemicals and beanbags.
Increased policing makes our community vulnerable to violence. Invest in communities, not police.
Eventually, the city council voted to conduct an independent review of the actions of the city that day to be presented to the public at a future date. That presentation will also include any changes or improvements the city should make to be prepared to respond in the future. In La Mesa, Laura Acevedo, 10 News.
A San Diego man has been charged with possessing a Molotov cocktail at the May 30th protest there in La Mesa. According to the U.S. Attorney's Office, 28-year-old Zachary Karras was arrested after officers ordered the crowd to disperse. Police say that he had 2 glass bottles containing wicks and gasoline. A special agent with the ATF calls them functioning incendiary devices. He also had fireworks. Karras faces up to 10 years in prison and a $250,000 fine if he's convicted. La Mesa businesses damaged by rioting and looting 2 weekends ago, they can now get some financial help rebuilding. Starting next week, affected business owners can register on the East County Economic Development Council's website. Money donated to the La Mesa Disaster Recovery Fund will start being distributed the week of June 29th. That fund currently has more than $200,000. An emotional farewell today. Family and friends gathered for the funeral of George Floyd. Several notable leaders spoke, including Reverend Al Sharpton, who gave the eulogy. Sharpton said Floyd was not a perfect man, but is the right man for the movement that has grown around his death. Others spoke about Floyd's life and what his death will mean.
And I can breathe. As long as I'm breathing, justice will be served for a period.
I want justice for my brother, my big brother.
George Floyd was not expendable. This is why we're here.
When he called out for his mama, we believe that the ears of mamas across this nation reared up, that the ears of mamas across this world heard him cry, even though for one mama, all mamas began to wail.
Former Vice President Joe Biden was also invited to speak, giving a video message directed to Floyd's daughter. The World Health Organization is clarifying a claim it made just yesterday about the rare risk of transmission for asymptomatic COVID-19 cases. And as ABC's Romina Puga reports, Dr. Anthony Fauci has a sobering assessment about the pandemic.
As states and cities continue to reopen, the coronavirus pandemic isn't slowing down. In a recent interview, Dr. Anthony Fauci compared the pandemic to his worst nightmare.
In a period of 4 months, it has devastated the world, and it isn't over yet.
Arizona's health department told hospitals to activate their emergency plans because cases are rising.
We need to really be socially responsible when we go outside, socially distance. I think there's evidence that we're not doing that.
21 states and Puerto Rico registered a rise in COVID, and 14 states, including Arizona, have seen their highest 7-day average growth since the pandemic began. Those growth numbers could be attributed to more testing, but several states are also seeing an uptick in hospitalizations.
Right now we're fine, but if we continue at a rate like this, we're facing a significant chance that we're going to have to shut down the state again.
COVID-19 hospitalizations in Texas are up 36% since Memorial Day. North Carolina currently has 774 coronavirus patients in its hospitals, setting a record for the 4th time this June. Meantime, states continue to seek normalcy. Miami beaches reopen Wednesday, along with NASCAR next week, which is planning to have 1,000 service members be the first fans in the stands. And the World Health Organization clarifies its statement on asymptomatic spread, saying it's very rare for people who test positive but never develop symptoms to infect others. This does not refer to pre-symptomatic patients who just haven't shown symptoms yet. In Colorado, Romina Puga, ABC News.
Orange County's Chief Health Officer, Dr. Nicole Quick, has resigned after defending her order to wear face masks in public. People fought back, claiming it restricts oxygen levels. According to the OC Register, she was given a security detail because of threats and protests outside of her home. Both San Diego and Los Angeles counties do require face coverings in public. More than 300 people have now died from coronavirus in San Diego County. 5 new deaths reported today. That brings the total to 301. The county also reported 110 new cases, bringing that total to 8,700.